The saga surrounding the ownership of video games has now entered a new phase. This time, it looks like the institutions that want this movement to end are now moving into false accusations and trying to pull legal power into the equation to destroy Stop Killing Games. Firstly, an update, as seen here, the movement has officially crossed 1.4 million signatures. More than enough to be taken seriously, so thank you to everyone in Europe for signing this. You guys did a great job. Now let's get into the meat of the video, then I'll talk about the Ubisoft stuff later on, but Accursed Farms, that's this YouTuber here on screen. In case you don't know, he started Stop Killing Games. Too long, didn't read version, is that the movement is made to stop companies from removing the ownership of games from you, the player, once they sunset or remove their games, either online or if some license expires, like Transformers for example. God, I love those games so much and I miss them. Anyway, so now Accursed Farms, whose real name is Ross Scott, which I'll refer to him as now in this video, has been handed a lengthy document from an unknown source which is apparently tied to the industry, and it's really weird. And I'm not making that up, by the way. Ross himself said that he was sent this by an unknown source. The reason why all of this is really important to cover and disprove is because the violations and allegations within this document are now claiming that Ross Scott is not only lying, but benefiting and manipulating Stop Killing Games as a worldwide initiative to benefit solely himself while ruining the fabric that holds modern video games together. And no, I am not kidding. And if these violations are taken seriously or escalate, not only could Ross be implicated, but Stop Killing Games and its validity as a legal movement, despite the signatures, they could be thrown out if this document ends up gaining steam and being taken more seriously in the future. The first violation states, as seen here, that Ross Scott, who is spearheading Stop Killing Games, is in violation of a no funding declaration. The allegation is that he is lying, according to this document sent his way, that he is not making money from this initiative. I'll get back to this one in a second. Also, if you enjoy the content, consider liking the video, leaving a comment. It helps a lot. Thank you. But anyways, the second violation claims that Ross Scott is hiding big compensations of funding behind the scenes in order to create and help Stop Killing Games gain the power in the long run to make the campaign bigger and hurt the companies that this movement aims to affect. The evidence that this document claims is, as seen here, saying that Ross Scott, in his own words from his own videos, says that he's been working 12 to 14 hours a day to get the signatures needed for this to reach the legislation. And that in Ross's own words, they try to weaponize against him. They are claiming that Ross is influencing people to sign the petition. Let's stop here for a second, because this is already pretty damning. Ross says himself in his video that he really hates how much responsibility has been placed on him due to all of this, and I don't blame him. He makes it very clear in his video that he doesn't like working long hours and enjoys relaxing himself, which, hey, I mean, who are we kidding? We all love relaxing. I know I do. Secondly, this claim that he is financially benefiting from this situation, that is a null argument. You see, YouTube as a platform obviously pays creators when they make content for them. It doesn't matter what the content is on, you are allowed to pretty much make videos on whatever it is that you're passionate about. Hence the whole you in the YouTube thing, but claiming that Ross is financially benefiting from releasing videos about this situation on his main channel is kind of ridiculous. Like, what is the guy supposed to do? He has over 400,000 subscribers. Of course, he is going to use his position as a YouTuber to shout out to as many people as possible that this would affect. This is why the entire movement has exploded to where it has, since many other creators, myself included, have all thrown our hats into the ring to help out too. Because yeah, it's important to us. This is like claiming that a video game review is unlawful because you are gaining money for making a review on a video game on YouTube. But the money you get from the video on the review is not necessarily from the publisher, but obviously Google AdSense instead. It does not make it a violation. It does not mean that he is financially benefiting from this. The guy has to live, and sure, they could argue he makes money from these videos that, based on view size and watch time, do make him money. But that's just what YouTube is. It's just how the platform works. Anyone can make anything they want and make money off of it. Yeah, it would be different if Ross set up like a GoFundMe to fund his living expenses, or for people to just give him money, as in tips specifically, for starting and making Stop Killing Games. But there is zero evidence of any sort of GoFundMe or anything like that existing. that Ross Scott specifically has made himself to financially benefit from, although they could still spin this and say, well, people could super thanks him on YouTube via giving him money that way too, but that's also a null argument. Super thanks are not necessary. Sure, creators appreciate it when people do send them a tip, but again, it is not necessary. Has Ross Scott gained super thanks from viewers due to Stop Killing Games? Probably, I don't know, but those are not in violation of anything. He cannot control whether someone decides to send him a tip on a YouTube video. It is up to the viewer's own decision and theirs alone, not Ross's. So this bogus claim that Ross gaining money due to Stop Killing Games is somehow in violation of something is frankly ridiculous. After all, many activist groups have donation pages or abilities to help out their initiatives that target companies as well to force change. I recently have been covering Collective Shout, maybe you heard about it. It's a feminist so-called non-profit organization that wants to censor all video games and then some. It's a big topic, I'll cover that more in a future video, but they, unlike Ross Scott, have a literal donation page on their website, as you're seeing here, where you can give them any amount of money that you want. Would this not then, in theory, mean that Collective Shout should be closed down or their claims invalidated because someone decided to send them, I don't know, $5 or even $500? The answer is no, of course, because they've been operating for 15 years now officially. However, in Ross's case, he's but one man, and yet instead, because what he claims to change is not a positive for these companies, suddenly now it's a problem. You can all see what I mean. If Ross was advocating for the censorship of video games or believed that you should own nothing like Pirate Software has said in the past, this document would not exist. But because he wants you, the player, to have more power and say in the things that you buy or own, now suddenly it's unlawful, shady, and proves that Stop Killing Games must be shut down or whatever else. Yes, it's a scare tactic and using big words to confuse you like most documents tend to do. But the truth at the center of this is that they're scared. They want this movement gone, and they're trying to kill Stop Killing Games because it's becoming too much of a problem for those who benefit from you not owning the things that you buy. But it doesn't stop there. Look how far this document is reaching to make it seem like Ross Scott is somehow this mastermind that's going to destroy video games. Look at this now. As you can see in the document, it claims that multiple media interviews identifying Scott as handling the standard day-to-day work of running the Stop Killing Games initiative. And they also try to paint Ross Scott as the primary spokesperson or handler of the campaign, which he vehemently denies in his video and has before as well. Ross makes it very clear that he is not the spokesperson for Stop Killing Games. There isn't technically an official figure that can even be considered the spokesperson at all, really. The voices that are speaking on behalf of this are actually thousands, if not millions, of ordinary people. As seen here with a simple YouTube search, there's plenty of creators making videos on the same subject, all talking about it and raising awareness. This means that this document could technically claim that any one of these people are a spokesperson for the movement, when again, there is no primary voice. Ross Scott started it, yes, that is true, but the movement didn't explode until obviously Pirate Software's claims against it tried to bury the movement, and then you had YouTubers like Moist Critical or Penguin or Penguins or however you refer to him making his video on the movement last month that exploded. Again, it's a non-argument, a flimsy whataboutism to try to scare Ross and others into compliance. Although it's that second claim that is far more egregious, where they claim that Ross Scott is the primary strategic decision maker. That is completely false. Ross makes it very evidently clear that no one has to listen to what he says. He has zero authority or any power at all, really, over any other person within Stop Killing Games. It's not like the movement is an organization or has like a Knights of the Round Table of hand-picked creators that are of self-importance. Which is probably why the industry hates Stop Killing Games even more, because there's not really a single group that they can target and say that these people are the bad guys, because they would be labeling not only YouTubers then, but their own paying customers too as the villains, which obviously wouldn't go over very well at all for them. But you can see how they're trying so hard to make it seem like Ross is not only making money from this, but that he's also the ringleader when he isn't. They're just desperate to bury the movement, and it's not working, and this will just backfire back into their faces. But it gets more ridiculous, as seen here. They then claim that Ross has made this amount of money based on his contributions to Stop Killing Games. According to Ross, none of the numbers on screen are real or accurate, and the industry which collectively just made up this document are literally just making numbers up about him. Claiming that he's making somewhere between 50 to 75 euros an hour, which is bizarre, because how can you even equate that what he's made with no official source of your own? Even going as far as to claim that he's made 63k to over 140k despite having zero evidence to back any of this up. Ross even confirms that he's never made over $60,000 a year doing YouTube or in his entire life pretty much, so none of this being claimed here is true at all. This is how far they're going, guys. So if they can't beat you with the facts, they're going to flat out lie and just come up with numbers that they think sound correct or at least believable and will push it as facts. What's funny is that if the industry just put this amount of effort into not sunsetting your favorite games or just delisting them, we wouldn't have this problem in the first place. But the fact that they're more willing to spend God knows how much making false allegation documents or hit pieces to push back against movements like this proves that it's not necessary a "we can't do this" issue. What it actually is that they simply just do not want to do this because they want to control everything with an iron grip. That's why they're so pissed off at this all existing, but look at this now. Look how far they're going. Let's now get into the alleged violations that Ross has done and why Stop Killing Games must die because of it. Violation number 1, Ross apparently has made 125 to 295 times the money he claims he made off the campaign and refuses to submit this information according to them. Again, this is based on the false numbers that the industry weirdos who wrote this came up with themselves, like claiming that Ross was making 50 to 75 euros an hour when there's no, evidence for that either. Violation number 2, systematic misrepresentation declaring no content available for funding, while concealing substantial professional contributions violates the transparency framework designed to inform citizens about initiative backing and ensure democratic accountability. Again, they're claiming that Ross is being given money to specifically hurt the industry behind the scenes with zero evidence of this claim. That is not how this works. If you don't have proof, then all you're doing is throwing around allegations. But here's where it gets interesting. Violation number 3 states foreign contribution concealment. Ross Scott is American, making this substantial undisclosed contribution a foreign source completely hidden from EU citizen evaluation of the initiative's backing and independence. Wow. So not only are we making up numbers as to what he makes from these videos and then some, where he tells people what's going on as updates and then so, again, he's being paid by AdSense and it's perfectly legal and normal to do so. But because Ross is American, him petitioning a movement that is currently targeted at changing how a European trade is done is suddenly bad. So where does this really end? And then this one, where they claim that he's hiding funds with no evidence to also back this up either. What are these people even talking about? You see, my worry is that some judge will read all of this and think, oh yeah, this is all violations, and then order that Stop Killing Games will just die due to false allegations that they are claiming are real. They then try to claim that websites that have written articles about Stop Killing Games referring to Ross Scott as the primary spokesperson is proof enough that he is indeed what they claim that he is, but you're taking the words of other people with no ties to Ross as an individual, nor to the movement abroad, and then claiming that their words have weight with something that they have no ties to. This is like if someone wrote an article about you claiming that you were wanted for some kind of an arrest, even if you weren't, but since they wrote an article about something that wasn't true, it was still enough proof that you need to be arrested. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You can't claim violations or legal force on someone based on the words of someone else. It's not Ross's fault that some of these websites are writing and conveying him in a certain way that enforces your beliefs against him as an individual. That's not how it works. But you can see how far they're willing to go. Everything they've claimed here is false so far. All of it. Yet they'll try to use it to silence and destroy Stop Killing Games because of the threat that it poses to their status quo of controlling literally everything. Whether it's lies, deceit, and manipulation, it's not beneath these industry types to get what they want. But it is reassuring at least to know that what is happening is clearly having a real effect on them if they're willing to go this far to lie about things to stop it. However, the fact that this was sent anonymously to him yet is an official document like this, it also says a few things, is that the industry is playing dirty. And that someone, whoever it is, really does think that they can kill the movement by just spreading lies like this. It's also interesting that this has been released within the same time frame as the European Union officially addressing Stop Killing Games, which if you don't know is when they pretty much made every cope imaginable as to why what Stop Killing Games aims to achieve can't exist. But at least it's good to see that places like Games Radar, as you can see, or even Kotaku are speaking on this, which shows that this movement is not necessarily some player versus developer or website thing. Instead, it's gamers versus big publishers, the people in the suits. We all gain nothing but loss if this continues to exist the way that it has, and it is sad but honestly not really surprising to see that the industry is lobbying against Stop Killing Games again in such a small time frame like this, claiming that Ross Scott is making whatever amount of money is ridiculous while having zero proof. They just want this gone, which is more reason as to why it can't end and actually has to go farther. We have them on their heels, fellas, and let's keep the pressure. Whatever I gotta do to get my Transformers and Spider-Man games back so I can play them due to all of this nonsense removing them is good enough for me. But now let's talk about Ubisoft, which has notoriously been against Stop Killing Games because the existence of that movement threatens their whole business model. This comes from Games Radar. Ubisoft CEO addresses Stop Killing Games after overseeing the deaths of the crew in X-Defiant. Support for all games cannot last forever. Yves Guillemot, the CEO of Ubisoft, said in an interview with GameFile, regarding the petition, we operate in a market. And whenever we release a game, we provide a lot of support for that game. We also provide a lot of services to make sure that the game is accessible and remains playable 24/7. He said more, but this kind of issue is not specific to Ubisoft. All video game publishers are faced with that issue. You provide a service, but nothing is written in stone, and at some point the service may be discontinued. Nothing is eternal. And we are doing our best to make sure that things go well for all players and buyers because obviously support for all games cannot last forever. Yeah, you mean how you guys made X-Defiant, sold a bunch of microtransactions, and then killed the game and refused to give money back to most players for what they bought? Yeah, sure, they did refund some of it, as seen here from TheVerge.com. However, the refunds that were issued were only for things that were bought in X-Defiant within the 30-day window of the announcement of the game going offline, but anything bought before then, which is pretty much 99% of the things that were sold within the game, so the large amount of cosmetic packs, microtransaction currencies, and whatnot, yeah, Ubisoft keeps all of that while you have nothing to play or show for the money that you spent on that game. Case in point, why this sort of thing is very important, because they don't want to normalize the idea of things lasting forever, besides them keeping your money, that is, but this isn't even the most eye-roll worthy moment out of Ubisoft. They also got criticism for articles circulating where they said, this from PC Gamer, Ubisoft's annual financial report includes claim that monetizing games with microtransactions makes the player experience more fun. This report came out on June 19th, and around 10 pages in, the report states, as PC Gamer says here, the adoption of monetization and engagement policies that respect the player experience and are sustainable in the long term. But this is where the report shows how out of touch they are, as it says here. At Ubisoft, the golden rule when developing premium games is to allow players to enjoy the game in full without having to spend more. Our monetization offer within premium games makes the player experience more fun by allowing them to personalize their avatars or progress more quickly. However, this is always optional. Yes, it's more fun to spend money in a game you just bought to level up faster because you intentionally made the grind more difficult, unless the player pays extra money on top. Yeah, that's fun, alright, and definitely optional. Microtransactions do not make games more fun. They only exist behind the glitz and glamour developers are strong-armed by publishers to make their games intentionally less intuitive or fun, or even, let's say, rewarding on purpose just to justify the implementation of these predatory practices, and don't you forget it. So of course they're going to try to sway the wind to their side because they benefit from it. How can you take what this company says as truth anyways? Knowing that they can and have killed games already and left you with literally nothing but a note that says sorry in the past not once but multiple times. Why invest in these games if they can die like this so abruptly? Unless you're Fortnite or maybe Marvel Rivals, I guess, what's the point? This is why I actually just keep playing more single-player games the older I get, because I'm so goddamn sick of this nonsense. All the daily login bonuses, buy our slop, and you better keep buying these. Because if you don't, we're going to have to pull the whole thing down and run away with the content you paid for. It's not the business strategy that is really built for the long term, even though they say it is. I still firmly believe the best kind of games are the ones that have a beginning, middle, and end and don't worry about keeping you engaged for the rest of your lives. It's okay to beat a game, guys, and move on. And it's okay to not want video games to become this, but the fact that we've reached the point where the industry itself is using lies and deceit to shift blame towards us instead of themselves, yep, that is very telling. Who knows, maybe this is a 4D chess move to pit us up against ourselves, but I hope nobody takes that bait. You are all not in the wrong here. You deserve to own the games you buy despite them saying otherwise. Remember that video games and these companies wouldn't even really exist without each of you willingly wanting to play them to have fun and buy them. I mean, that's all I really want for us. A future where the predatory practices aren't as awful as they are right now, and there's no fear of whatever you enjoy playing one day just evaporating into the ether because a million people didn't buy the horse armor or the season battle pass on time. Yeah, there's a lot of battles to be fought in video games, I know, but as you can see from this video and all the info provided, things are heating up. I'll leave a link to the allegation document in the description box below if you want to look it over yourselves or maybe download it too. But let me know what you think as always. Is the industry really trying to scare Ross and the rest of us out of supporting Stop Killing Games? And what about Ubisoft? Do microtransactions make games more fun to play in your opinion? Let me know in the comments. But as always, thank you for watching, subscribe to keep up to date, and I will see you next time, guys.